4 years ago, Hailey Bieber had only just started dropping hints that her beauty brand was coming. Rhode wasn't even officially announced at that point and didn't launch until June of 2022. Cut to today, and Rhode is one of the most talked about skincare brands in the world. So how did they do it? How did Rhode avoid becoming just another failed celebrity beauty brand and instead became one of the fastest growing skincare and I guess beauty brands of the last few years? In today's Behind the Beauty, I'm going to talk about the real story behind Rhode, starting with how Hailey Bieber became someone who was perfectly positioned to launch a successful beauty brand and the strategies and early changes surrounding the brand's launch, as well as how Rhode overcame these issues and grew into the brand we know today, the takeover by E.L.F. Beauty, and some of the controversies and what the brand's future looks like now. Because although Rhode's rise in the skincare world may have looked kind of effortless from the outside and very natural, the truth is actually quite different. In an already very overcrowded skincare industry, every brand has to fight to stand out and has to adapt to changing trends in order to survive. And I want to talk about how Rhode has done it so far, but now that under new ownership, are they going to be able to keep standing out? After all, we've seen how often indie brands fall apart or disappear after a big takeover. So has the E.L.F. acquisition secured Rhode's future, or is it the start of an end? Chapter 1: Becoming Hailey Bieber. Seeing as Rhode is a celebrity beauty brand, we need to talk about the celebrity behind it. We've seen over and over again that simply being famous doesn't mean you find success in the beauty world. So what's so different this time? I think it's quite simple, to be honest. Before creating Rhode, before the peptide lip treatments, the viral social media posts, and the massive waiting lists, Hailey Bieber was busy building something else. It wasn't a skincare brand or a line of products, it was genuine credibility. She was already making a name for herself in the world of beauty, popularizing a very specific signature look and establishing herself as someone with a huge fan base that followed her every single move. She was essentially becoming Hailey Bieber as we know her today. Most people probably know that Hailey Bieber is the daughter of the actor Stephen Baldwin. Despite this, she didn't seem to pursue a career that would have made her a celebrity in her own right, or at least not a major one. She actually originally wanted to be a professional ballet dancer, training for over a decade to do so, and she was apparently pretty good at it. She was alright. However, a string of injuries eventually forced her to give up on that dream, and that's when her path to becoming the Hailey Bieber we know really started. She started modeling in her late teens, signing with Ford models early on in her career. Initially, it was just commercial work and smaller editorial shoots, but she soon started to stand out for her signature look. The modeling industry at the time still leaned heavily towards a full glam, highly sculpted look, but Hailey Bieber's aesthetic was a bit more minimalist at the time. Long before Rhode existed, Hailey was becoming known for her dewy skin, her no makeup look, and an approach to beauty that was meant to look effortless. And this helped her land jobs with brands like French Connection, Topshop, Ralph Lauren, and L'Oreal Paris. And it wasn't long before she made a name for herself as a model and became known to many as the epitome of the clean girl aesthetic. By this point, Hailey was fairly well known, especially to those interested in fashion. Her modeling career, as well as her friendship with bigger celebrity names like Kendall and Kylie Jenner, meant that she was a recognizable face to many, but she definitely wasn't the celebrity that she is known as now. But her public profile increased dramatically when her relationship with Justin Bieber came out. And they got married, and it skyrocketed even further. Suddenly, Hailey Bieber wasn't just a model, she was Hailey Bieber. But instead of being swallowed up by her husband's fame, she took this increase in popularity and made herself someone people wanted to follow, wanted to be like, not just because of who she was married to, but because of how she lived her own life. She leaned further into fashion and wellness and beauty content, positioning herself as more than just a celebrity spouse. In interviews, she started talking more about her routines, her style, her approach to health and self-care. And by the early 2020s, Hailey had become a major celebrity in her own right. Everything about her became aspirational to the millions of people who followed her. Her outfits, her lifestyle in general, everything, including her skin. And her skin in particular was something that people aspired to emulate. That sounds creepy, doesn't it? But before it became a core part of the way Rhode promoted their products, the term glazed donut skin was just the way a lot of people described Hailey Bieber's face. And just to be clear, I've spoken about this before. Hailey Bieber didn't create the term. She didn't steal it from anyone. It's a term that's been around for a while. Nobody owns it. It's been used by makeup brands, Nikkie Tutorials, popular estheticians, Korean beauty brands. Dating back to the 90s, people just use it to describe her particular look quite a lot, so it's become heavily associated with her. But it was popularized by somebody, and we'll talk about that soon. At this point, Hailey was arguably already poised to stand out when it came to launching a beauty brand. She was in a much better position than some of the celebrities who decided to try it. Brad Pitt, for example. She had the fame, the following, and a very specific look that people wanted to get for themselves. So a lot of celebrities would have gone ahead and launched their brand. But what so many celebrities lack when they try to enter the beauty world is credibility, which is especially important when it comes to skincare. Hailey Bieber definitely had some level of credibility already, just from the fact that she looked the way she does and had been a professional model. I think people often assume models have like crazy beauty secrets that nobody else knows. So for some people, that's enough. But she also took the time to show she had a real interest in skincare for years before her own brand was ever even mentioned. She collaborated with brands like Bare Minerals, a brand known for its like skin first makeup and natural finishes, which was a perfect match for her image. And she continued to appear in loads of other fashion and beauty campaigns that emphasized fresh skin and minimal makeup. She also regularly talked about her skincare routine online, like all the time, in interviews for Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, as well as videos on her own YouTube channel and her posts on Instagram too. And most of all, she did it all in a way that seemed genuine. She didn't pretend to be an expert. She just shared her experience with skincare, the issues she had with her own skin, and how she fixed them. She spoke very comfortably about ingredients, routines, and skin health, but without pretending to be something that she wasn't. So she connected with people in a sincere way, and it made them trust her. So like an influencer essentially. But unlike a lot of other celebrities, when Hailey Bieber announced Rhode, it didn't just feel like another cash grab to most people. Instead, it made perfect sense. Fans had been asking her how they could get her skin aesthetic for years. So it felt like Rhode was an authentic attempt to give people what they actually wanted, rather than just throwing out some random products and hoping her fame would sell them. Chapter 2, the creation of Rhode. All of this meant that Hailey Bieber was perfectly positioned to launch a skincare brand. She wouldn't be seen as another random celebrity deciding to try their luck with skincare, and there was a ton of them at that time, but more so someone who was passionate about it and had genuinely actually thought through what their brand would offer more than most celebrity founders do or even did. In interviews, Hailey Bieber has talked about how she got into skincare when she was a teenager, learning from her mother and her grandmother, who emphasized hydration and protecting your skin from the sun. Apparently, this interest in skincare grew to the point where she described herself as a skincare product junkie, and there were hints well before Rhode came out that maybe Hailey Bieber's love for skincare would lead to her creating her own brand. In 2019, fans had noticed that she tried to trademark the name Bieber Beauty, but it didn't go through because it conflicted with some trademarks that her husband already had. But in 2021, she filed trademarks again, which were successful at the time, for the name Rhode, covering skincare, cosmetics, and beauty categories. And apparently product development had actually started in 2019, around the same time as the initial attempt to trademark Bieber Beauty. In interviews, Hailey has said that things started getting more serious during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that between 2020 and 2021, she spent a lot of time researching ingredients, consulting with dermatologists, and testing product samples. When the brand launched, they also released a video on YouTube titled The Making of Rhode, which shows the behind the scenes of how the brand was created and what role Hailey had in it. And to be fair, it does look like she was quite heavily involved, researching ingredients and other aspects of skincare herself, being involved in the actual product development process, deciding what products would be included in the initial lineup, being involved in branding decisions, helping to create marketing materials, and so on. She was involved in a lot. Obviously, all this was with the help of actual experts in the skincare, marketing, business, etc. And in case you weren't aware, Hailey isn't the only founder of Rhode. She actually co-founded the brand alongside Michael D. Ratner and Lauren Ratner, who are married. Michael is a film producer and entrepreneur who has worked with Justin Bieber previously and had also helped Hailey create her YouTube channel. And Lauren is a business executive with experience working for Michael Kors and Reformation. So she definitely didn't do it on her own, and I don't think anybody expects celebrities to be doing this on their own. But she seems very, very heavily involved in the creation of Rhode and the path the brand has taken. I'm not a fan of Kylie's skin, or I'm not a fan of the Jenners and what are they called? Kardashians, but I do feel like we've seen this work ethic in Kylie, so I wonder if that's kind of where she got it from. Was like, you know what, if I want a brand to succeed, I have to actually be involved in it. She also invested a significant amount of her own money into launching the brand, which isn't something a lot of brands do. So after around 3 years of product development, testing and strategizing, the brand was finally ready to be launched. And to be honest, it kind of came at the perfect time. The skincare boom that took place during COVID and just after the COVID pandemic is well documented at this point, and it was arguably reaching its peak just as Hailey Bieber launched Rhode in June of 2022. And it wasn't just the popularity of skincare at the time, but during COVID, a lot more people had started focusing more on maintaining a healthy skin barrier and keeping their skin super hydrated. We kind of learned with the rise of K-beauty as well that these were kind of core to keeping your skin healthy no matter what other products you use. And ingredients like peptides were at the height of their popularity. This all fit in perfectly with what Hailey was known for and what Rhode was offering. The brand's initial lineup consisted of 3 products: the Barrier Restore Cream, a moisturizer that focuses on hydration and strengthening the skin barrier, niacinamide shea butter, and of course peptides. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it was a really decent moisturizer. The peptide glazing fluid, a super hydrating formula for your face aimed at smoothing fine lines, plumping skin over time, and giving that glazed look that Hailey Bieber is known for. And the peptide lip treatment, this one has been pretty much the star product for Rhode, and I think one that I'm glad they're focusing on a lot. It hydrates your lips, smooths fine lines, and apparently plumps your lips over time. And of course, like the glazing fluid, it gives you that glazed look, but for your lips instead of your face. These products delivered that foundation for the look that everybody wanted to copy. Hailey's signature glazed donut look. The products weren't anything crazy. It wasn't a complicated launch with loads of products. It was just 3 core products that were easy to use and focus on the basics behind achieving that glazed look that actually kept your skin healthy too. And I think it was another clever choice because it really reinforced the idea that Rhode wasn't just another celebrity money grab. They could have launched like a 9-step routine like Kim Kardashian tried to do in an attempt to make as much money as possible by convincing their consumers that they needed all these products. Instead, they kept things really simple and really intentional, and it fit in perfectly with Hailey's minimalist aesthetic. It also made people take this brand seriously as well. And even to this day, their product launches are, they've got more, but they're rare. And again, very, very intentional. Their marketing strategy also tried to stay true to this minimalist, authentic feel that Hailey Bieber had become known for. Other than traditional celebrity advertising, Rhode really leaned into organic feeling social media content. It was behind the scenes development clips, skincare routines, and Hailey herself demonstrating how the products worked and how they fit into her everyday routine. The messaging never really felt like a hard sell. It felt like an extension of the content Hailey had already been sharing for years. And on top of all this, the fact that Hailey and Rhode had been building up anticipation for months before the brand actually launched, including by using unreleased, unlabeled test products in her Get Ready With Me videos to get people excited about what was coming. People were really excited about what was coming. She started teasing the brand's launch near the start of 2022, including starting the Rhode social media pages, so they had loads of time to establish themselves and build up anticipation. It worked. It worked really well, so well that when they reached the launch date, Rhode already had a wait list of over 440,000 people. That's crazy. And it's no wonder the initial launch sold out within just 3 days. Further restocks also sold out rapidly. I remember being on a waiting list just trying to get these products to review. The hype for the brand exploded in those first few months. Rhode's launch was so successful that after just 6 months, they had already hit 10 million in sales. But not everything went smoothly for the brand early on. They did actually face some criticisms and challenges almost immediately. Chapter 3: Early Challenges and Criticisms. One of the early criticisms Rhode faced was actually around the way they continually sold out of products so quickly. Fans weren't happy about not being able to get their hands on the products, with many actually accusing the brand of deliberately understocking their products. So basically they keep saying, we're sold out, and continue to build up hype around the products. I mean, this isn't really so much an accusation as it is fans just pointing out the fact that Rhode relied heavily on the drop culture to build excitement around the brand. They amass a huge waitlist for products, release a fairly small batch of products at a time, and then get to say that they sold out 3 days in or 11 seconds or whatever. You know, the ridiculous figure is. This is pretty common practice these days, especially amongst celebrity and influencer brands. And as annoying as it is for consumers, brands keep doing it because it works. I'm kind of hoping people will get tired of it soon and people will stop buying into the artificial hype of it, because it would just be a lot better if brands just released a normal amount of stock at a time that actually meets demand. If you've got that huge waiting list, make enough stock, you know? Anyway, regardless of my dislike for this tactic and the amount of people it pissed off, it worked incredibly well for Rhode. The brand was already hugely anticipated, and this drop strategy just took the excitement around the brand to a whole new level. People were desperate to get their hands on the products. There were reviews everywhere from those who managed to get hold of them, and for a while it seemed like everyone was talking about Rhode. But then again, not everything being said about the brand was positive. Early on, there were a lot of people complaining that even when they did finally manage to get an order in before the latest drop sold out, they then had to wait weeks for the products to arrive. It was very, very slow shipping. They also complained that on top of the long wait times, communication from the brand was poor, if non-existent, with hardly any updates on the shipping process and confusing updates when they were provided. And when those products finally did arrive, there were still things customers weren't happy about. One of the most talked about Rhode controversies is to do with the actual quality of their peptide lip treatments. Despite them being the brand's standout product, there have been so many issues surrounding them. Not long after they launched, the first complaints started to come in, with people saying that the peptide lip treatments felt grainy or sandy, and that they started to smell and basically look moldy, or that they had a bad reaction to the product. It started off fairly slowly at first, with a small number of customers complaining about these issues, but the brand failed to do anything to fix the problems, and by 2024, Rhode had gone viral again, but this time it wasn't because of another highly anticipated product drop, it was because of the sheer number of people complaining about the peptide lip treatments and the lip tints. It had reached ridiculous levels. The brand again failed to take any real action, apart from telling customers to warm up the lip treatments and tints before using them, like literally boil them in order to get rid of the grainy texture. It wasn't the response that everyone was looking forward to. It wasn't a response that people took well, especially seeing as Rhode's products aren't particularly cheap. And it wouldn't be until another year later, when they went viral again for the same issue, that Rhode would finally make some changes. In July of 2025, the brand finally reformulated the products, swapping out solid shea butter for liquid shea butter, which seems to have fixed the grainy texture. I don't think they've ever really addressed the moldy, gross smell people have complained about, or the claims of adverse reactions. If you want to hear more about this controversy, I did a whole video about it, which you can watch here. Aside from the logistics and product quality issues though, there was another controversy that hit the brand before it even launched. Shortly after Hailey announced the brand, a women's fashion label called Rhode publicly objected to Hailey's brand being named Rhode and accused Bieber's brand of trademark infringement. The fashion brand had been operating under the Rhode name since 2014, and they argued that Hailey's use of the name was problematic because her brand operated in categories that were too close to fashion. They felt that this could cause confusion and harm for their business. And I can see where they're coming from. To be honest, this was a smaller independent brand which was suddenly sharing a name with a brand owned by one of the most popular celebrities in the world. I'm pretty sure if it was the other way around, Rhode wouldn't want some random fashion brand in New York using an almost identical name. The reaction from consumers was fairly mixed though. Some felt like the fashion brand was just trying to gain attention by causing a fuss, but others did sympathize with the brand and questioned whether Rhode's trademark would have been approved if it wasn't backed by a celebrity. And it wasn't a good look for Hailey Bieber and her new brand, especially when it came out that she'd apparently tried to buy the name from the brand owners several years before. So she couldn't even claim that it was an accident and that she didn't know the other brand existed. She wanted it. and she apparently had also applied to have Rhode trademarked for the clothing category as well. But obviously that wasn't granted. In a statement given at the time, the fashion brand's lawyer said, "It's an unfortunate circumstance. We of course understand that Hailey wants to use her middle name for her brand, but the law on this is clear. You can't create this kind of brand confusion just because you want to use your name. What Miss Bieber is doing is harming a minority co-owned business that two women have painstakingly built into growing into a global brand." And despite loads of people agreeing with that statement, experts that clearly Hailey's brand was in the wrong, many pointed out that a smaller brand fighting such a large brand with money and a celebrity behind it is always difficult, even if the law is on their side. And in the end, they were right about that. The resulting lawsuit dragged on for years before finally being settled in July of 2024, though the terms of the settlement haven't been disclosed. Regardless of the eventual outcome, it was definitely a controversy that tarnished the brand's image in the early days, and although many have moved on and completely forgotten about the drama, it did also put off plenty of potential customers who didn't like the way Hailey and her brand had, in their opinion, essentially abused their power in the situation. It doesn't help that the Rhode fashion brand later closed down at the end of January of 2025, and as angry as some people were about these issues, it didn't do much to slow down Rhode though, and like I said earlier, their growth would be pretty extraordinary regardless of any controversies. Something I'll just touch on really quickly is the mention of glazed donut skin and how Hailey Bieber herself didn't invent this term. I mentioned that it's been used time and time again in K-beauty, in multiple makeup palettes, but really this was popularized by esthetician Tiara Willis, who has gone viral so many times on Twitter, or X as they call it nowadays. Black skincare TikTok was really the start of skincare info online and skincare tips from professionals. And if you were into skincare, you were following these very popular estheticians, including Tiara Willis. Now, Tiara Willis really did make the term glazed donut skin popular. And in my opinion, and this is why I'm keeping it short because it is just my opinion and a lot of other people's online, Hailey Bieber knows who Tiara Willis is. As I mentioned, if you're into skincare online and have been for as long as Hailey Bieber has been, you know who Tiara Willis is. So a lot of people kind of felt that Hailey Bieber had kind of stolen this term and wanted to repopularize it for her own brand. As I mentioned, it's just suspicion, but I personally believe that Hailey Bieber, as involved in the online skincare world as she is, would know who Tiara Willis is. Chapter 4: Rapid Growth. As I mentioned earlier, Rhode's start was so successful despite the criticisms that after just 6 months they had already reached $10 million in sales. But that was just the start for the brand. Since then, they've grown at an almost ridiculous rate, becoming one of the biggest names in skincare. As we probably all know by now, Rhode's success was driven in large part by social media, especially TikTok, kind of Instagram. Pretty quickly, the term glazed donut skin was all over social media, with thousands of people using the hashtag on videos of them trying to recreate Hailey's look with her brand's products. It became so popular that this term is pretty much synonymous now with Hailey Bieber and Rhode, despite it not being coined by them. And since then, basically everything that Rhode does goes viral in terms of product releases and major announcements, but the product that started it all was the peptide lip treatment. This was easily the standout product for the brand. What began as a pretty simple and kind of basic lip product quickly turned into a staple for beauty lovers and a massive cultural trend. Since then, Rhode has taken it further with so many different versions of the lip treatment, which blur the line between skincare and makeup. They're available in a bunch of different shades now, all with classic Rhode names like Toast, Raspberry Jelly. And to be honest, these have been an even bigger success for Rhode than the original treatment. I mean, the lip tints are so popular that Rhode even came out with that ridiculous phone case to like capitalize on it all, and so popular that now every single brand pretty much has their own version of these Rhode lip treatment shades. And it's kind of played along with everything that Hailey Bieber doing going viral. She painted her nails blue. Blueberry nails. She wore, I don't know, brown eyeshadow. Toast eyeshadow. You know, everything she did, they had to give a name. Her marketing team were working overtime. But the brand has also found success with pretty much all the other products in the line, in the brand even, like the Pocket Blush, the Peptide Lip Shape, the Glazing Milk, the Peptide Glazing Fluid, the Barrier Restore Cream, which I love. I'll stop there because I am just naming all their products. And I will continue to because they've all gone viral. I don't think there are any Rhode products that have been a massive flop. Even that stupid phone case I mentioned has made them millions. Genius, but also stupid. And to be fair, the reason for this is because Rhode doesn't rush out products without any thought like so many other brands do. They take their time and only put out products that fit with their core philosophy, that are going to help you get the look Hailey is known for, and that people actually seem to want. I think this more thought out, considerate approach to product launches has been a huge part of the brand's success, if I'm honest. And you see this reflected in other brands like Do, Crave Beauty, Experiment. They are all long-lasting brands with intention, and I do think Hailey Bieber, being so involved in the skincare world, would have looked at these brands and been like, that's what we need to do. Because not only does it help them avoid wasting time and money on creating products that nobody really wants, but it means there's time in between launches for anticipation to build up again and again, for consumers to get excited. So when the next product finally comes along, I think it's that mask that's just launched now, everyone wants it. It happens every single time. It's predictable in the best way for Rhode. And their products haven't just been praised by the fans of the brand, they've also won plenty of awards, received recognition from major publications for their products. Magazines like Allure, Vogue, Elle, Cosmopolitan have all spotlighted Rhode products in best of beauty lists, and trend reports further strengthening the brand's credibility with a wider audience than just people they reach on social media and people who may just be a fan of Hailey Bieber. So it should be no surprise that Rhode has gone from strength to strength to strength in the last 3.5 years. By the end of their first year, they made an estimated $16 million. Not bad at all for a new brand with a small product lineup and limited stock. Over the next few years, they expanded their product lineup slightly, but still only have like 10-11 core products, not including the various shades, flavors. Despite that, their revenue had skyrocketed to $202 million for the financial year ending March of 2025. That is such a crazy huge climb in revenue in such a short amount of time. And unsurprisingly, it brought them attention from bigger brands who saw a rising star of the beauty world and wanted to get in on it. Chapter 5, Selling Out to E.L.F. In May of 2025, after Rhode posted those impressive revenue results for the previous financial year, it was announced that E.L.F. Beauty would be acquiring the brand in a deal worth $1 billion. It was one of the biggest deals in beauty, at least in recent years, and it came as quite a surprise to a lot of fans of the brand actually, and beauty enthusiasts in general. Rhode had been around for less than 3 years at that point. Nobody was expecting a sale, first of all, so soon, or for that much money. How much is it? 3 billion? No, 1 billion. 3 billion. But this deal did show how seriously the beauty industry was taking Rhode. In that short time, the brand has established itself as far more than just another celebrity brand. E.L.F. CEO Tarang Amin confirmed that they saw Rhode as something special. That Rhode was the perfect complement to E.L.F.'s existing portfolio, being a modern, digitally native brand with a strong founder-led identity that appeals deeply to Gen Z and millennial beauty culture. In one interview, he said, "What we saw in Rhode was another like-minded disruptor. I see Hailey as much more than a celebrity. She's one of the most thoughtful founders I've ever met. She has incredible instinct, a beautiful aesthetic that's absolutely resonating with her community." And it's Rhode's ability to keep up their virality and popularity whilst turning their cultural relevance into actual sales that does make it special. So many brands have a brief moment where they go viral, especially on TikTok, but in general it only lasts a few weeks, maybe a few months, or even a year if you're lucky. But Rhode has kept that up since the beginning, for over 3 years now, and that's not normal in today's world. But as much as this deal was a positive for Rhode and proof that the brand had been doing a lot of things right, it also created quite a bit of unease, I guess you could say, amongst some consumers. Many questioned if Rhode would change negatively due to the acquisition, if Hailey would have the same level of control, and if they'd be able to keep the things about the brand that fans of it love so much. It was a reasonable thing to be worried about, and still is. E.L.F. are known for doing business in a very different way to Rhode. They're known for dupes, shoveling out new products at a ridiculous rate, the complete opposite of Rhode. Yeah, the complete opposite of Rhode. But they confirmed at the time that Hailey Bieber would still be continuing on in her role as founder, as well as becoming the brand's chief creative officer and head of innovation. The brand's other founders would also be staying on, Michael D. Ratner as co-executive chairman and Lauren Ratner as president and chief brand officer. Speaking about the acquisition, Hailey Bieber said, "From day one, my vision for Rhode has been to make essential skincare and hybrid makeup you can use every day. Just 3 years into this journey, our partnership with E.L.F. Beauty marks an incredible opportunity to elevate and accelerate our ability to reach more of our community with even more innovative products and widen our distribution globally." So it sounded like the core of the brand would remain, and that hopefully Rhode's philosophy as a brand wouldn't be altered too much by the acquisition. The sale, as far as Hailey and co-founders were concerned, wasn't about selling out and walking away rich, but about partnering with a company that could take them further. With E.L.F's help, they would be able to expand globally, financially reaching consumers who had been desperate for years to get their hands on these products that weren't available in their country. E.L.F's ability to handle global scaling, distribution, and operations would make this much, much easier for Rhode. And to be fair, this expansion started pretty soon after E.L.F took over. In September of 2025, Rhode became available in Sephora for the first time, both online as well as in their US and Canadian stores. This was a huge change for the brand. It meant losing the feeling of exclusivity that Rhode had nurtured since the very, very start with their limited releases and long wait lists, but it was probably inevitable at some point, you know, and it's a move that's gone on to prove pretty good for the brand. Rhode accounted for 35% of Sephora's US sales on the day that they launched in Sephora stores and online. 35% of all Sephora sales, even for just one day, is insane. And it meant that they had a record-breaking $15 million on their first day in Sephora. They followed that up soon after with a similar level of success when they finally arrived in the UK, again through Sephora. In the first 2 days of arriving on UK shelves, Rhode sold an estimated 10 million worth of products. Chapter 6, what does the future hold? So far, none of the major concerns consumers had about the E.L.F. takeover seem to have become an issue in any way. Formulas seem to be the same as they were before. Quality doesn't appear to have gone down. Although, didn't the packaging used to be almost like a matte grey? Like a plasticky feeling? I can't remember. Anyway, the product quality hasn't gone down. The brand is so far retaining its minimalist cool girl identity, and prices haven't gone up by any crazy amount. There have been a couple of small price increases of $1 to $2 on a couple products, but to be honest, they had bigger price hikes before E.L.F. took over than they've had since. Rhode has largely maintained its aesthetic, messaging, and product philosophy in the 9 months since the E.L.F. acquisition, but the level of scrutiny is different now. Every launch, restock, and reformulation is going to be interpreted not just as a Rhode decision, but as an E.L.F. era Rhode decision. People are watching out for any little change, waiting for E.L.F. to do something that ruins their favorite brand. It remains to be seen if those changes are coming, but for now, the brand seems to be in a very good place. In early February 2026, E.L.F. CEO confirmed that Rhode is the fastest growing brand in their portfolio, adding that it's exceeded every expectation anyone had for the brand. He also said that Rhode is Sephora's North America's top selling brand, and that Rhode is expected to bring in 260 to 265 million for E.L.F. in net sales for the financial year, which works out at an overall sales of 360 million if you count Rhode sales prior to the acquisition. This is a pretty big jump up from the brand's previous best year of 212 million. So it does sound like that these sales figures are likely to keep increasing, with E.L.F. confirming that they plan to continue rolling out Rhode internationally in the coming years, as well as plans to increase their marketing budget, which will apparently include several high-profile campaigns. On top of that, there are several new product launches planned. Apparently there will be a pimple patch, a bronzer, contouring product, new shades of the peptide lip tint, and maybe another mystery product. That could be the mask. That's 4 new products possibly planned for 2026. So hopefully Rhode isn't turning towards E.L.F's fast beauty model. I don't think they will. I feel like we've already had a few new products since E.L.F's takeover with their recent release of the Peptide Lip Boost, which is a plumping lip mask with 4 different peptides, and the Caffeine Reset, that sculpting cream mask containing caffeine, obviously, as well as the Peptide Eye Prep, which are depuffing hydrogel eye patches. Compared to the rate at which Rhode was releasing products before, This is a big change. I'm sure some fans will be more than happy to get as many products as they possibly can from Rhode, but like I said before, I think one of the things that Rhode does so well is not putting out too many products too quickly. For the last few years, Rhode has stood out because it was doing something differently to other brands. It focused on thoughtful, necessary product releases, products that were created with Hailey's genuine skincare philosophy in mind, not just to create products for the sake of it. Everything was made to help give you the signature Hailey Bieber look. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be moving away from this anytime soon, but if they keep up at this new rate of product releases, it won't be long before they run out of products that genuinely fit with what Rhode has been known for and what the brand's identity is. Maybe I'm being pessimistic, because I always am. But I'm a little worried for Rhode's future if this is the way it's going to keep going. Sure, they might make a lot of money in a short amount of time, but are they starting to head down a path that could lead to the end of what made Rhode unique and what people love them for? Let me know what you think. Are you a fan of the products that we've seen from Rhode in the last 6 months? Are you excited for the new products that are coming later this year? And do you think E.L.F is going to ruin Rhode in the long run? Overall, I think Rhode is a good brand with decent products. I don't think a lot of them are anything special, but I do think they benefited from the hype of being a good celebrity skincare brand. Like I said, I don't think the products are anything special, but when you compare them to the other celebrity launches of the time, they stood out because they were actually decent and they actually worked. But let me know what you think of Rhode products. Have you tried them? What's your favorite? What's your least favorite in the comments down below? And hopefully I will see you next time.